folks. This is Barry Chamish. I'm pleased to say you can hear me. I really don't understand Skype or technology, but I have a producer who does, and I think we managed to up my volume, and we're talking on Skype again. Look, my first guest is pretty well known. Well, let's call them Patriot circles for now. But more to the point, he wrote a book called Bloodlines of the Illuminati. And he's, of course, Fritz Springmeier. Fritz, are you there?
Yes, I am. It's a real privilege, Barry, to be on your show.
My pleasure to have you. Now, you promised me more material, but what I got, I went looking on my own. This is... Well, it's quite a story, I got to tell you. Let's start with, first of all, a friend of mine, more than a friend, actually. She associates you with Kathy O'Brien and a book called The Transformation of America. How come?
Well, both Kathy O'Brien and I have been trying to expose the trauma-based mind control. And I came out with 3 books in the mid-90s about it. I started exposing it just prior to Kathy and Mark coming out. And so we've both been out there speaking, writing books, and doing what we could to prevent this and help people.
Well, I got to tell you, most of my listeners don't have my background. I read her book, and I got to tell you, you know, if it was pretty convincing, all right? But if it's true, how come there's a Clinton, apparently she gets a shot at running for president? If that book is true, it had no effect whatsoever on just about anything.
Well, you know, we're looking at a point in time when America is really just no different than Nazi Germany was in 1939.
I don't think that's kind of an exaggeration. Hopefully there are not about to slaughter 60 million people in a war that, let's just say, the election is certainly a joke. It really, really is. Which clown wins? And I see it that way. I'm not quite as extreme in my position, but it is a joke. Let's start with my position. How come her book which exposed Bill Clinton as, well, a major sexual abuser? Talk about this book. We do have this presidency, and you are going to vote for somebody who apparently really, really abused this young woman. Well, she was married to, without diving into the, what is this book about, and how come you have a Clinton running for president? Go away you go.
Well, like I say, it's people are living in what's best described as a matrix, where they're not seeing reality, you know. And if you look at the German people, and like I was saying, in 1939, they had this glowing image of what their government was all about. And a lot of people, unfortunately, and just to be frank, they have their heads in the sand. They're, you know, it's like Hitler said, you know, what luck for the rulers that men do not think. And that's exactly what we have going on here, is that there's a long trail of dead bodies and crimes that the Clintons have been involved with, but nothing sticks, you know. I mean, here's a president...
Well, he almost got impeached.
And then they didn't do anything about it.
It was a close call. You know, he went all the way to an impeachment trial and got out of it, but, you know, he must have been, you know, crapping his pants over that one. He was almost exposed.
Well, he was actually impeached. That's the thing. He was. They impeached him. It didn't carry any penalty. And now Hillary is involved with her own legal problems, but it's just not going to come. It's probably not going to amount to anything that actually it takes her to prison because of the situation that we are in now. It's
What situation?
justice is broken down.
All right, let's sort this out. Number one, for those who don't know Kathy O'Brien, um, just look her up. All right, we don't have time for this, but it's a very look. I'm not easily persuaded. I'm a very skeptical guy. That book, if it's true, and it felt pretty true, is an appalling indictment of these Clintons.
Yeah, it sure is. Barry, I don't speak on these subjects in a theoretical manner. I had done thousands of hours of research into the elite, and I had started writing books on these subjects. I know you've written a whole bunch of books. You've uncovered your own share of dirt on these powerful leaders. So you should be comfortable with
I really didn't want to. I didn't want to, but you're right. I found out that the people ruling my people are not us. Really not us, okay?
Right. So it's no different in terms of the American people, and so I had discovered all of this, and then a major breakthrough for me was that I became involved in the lives of 4 women who had been in the Illuminati and were trying to get out of it. And they told me that there were 2 important concepts. One was the bloodlines, and you mentioned my book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati. And then the other important concept was mind control, the trauma-based mind control. They were all in therapy trying to deal with this trauma-based mind control. And so I got to see day in, day out for 5 years, I got to see their handlers, their programmers. I got to see what they were going through. I sat there and heard the codes come over the telephone. I mean, my window was shot out.
What's a code? Hold on. This is the concept not everyone, I don't understand. What is the code coming over the telephone?
Well, if you look at a Charles Bronson movie, Telephone, you'll see a picture of what I'm talking about. It's something that may sound like a nursery rhyme or just kind of like gobbledygook, but like in my first major book on the mind control, which I called the Formula Book, I gave a whole bunch of codes. And so when you're familiar with these codes, you're even going to start seeing them in public or right in front of us. It's most amazing what's being done, and until you know about it, it goes right by you. But once you know how to recognize it, you'll see it's all around us.
What are we looking for?
Well, they misdiagnose it a lot. They got their favorite misdiagnoses. Bipolar affective, borderline, schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia, psychosis, schizoaffective. They got a whole long bunch of misdiagnoses, but basically what it comes back to is they do a horrendous, very horrendous, horrific trauma that's so severe to a little child that it splits its mind. And it splits its mind into dissociative pieces. They can go in and find those dissociative pieces and and then program each of those dissociative pieces. So it creates the perfect spy. It creates.
What are you programming them to do?
Oh, anything you want. That's the thing, is when you're building something, the more features you build into it, the better. So there's all kinds of bells and whistles, if you want to describe it as that. They will, a standard person like Kathy O'Brien will have sexual altars that can be just at a code, take hold of the body and perform sex. They also have assassination altars. They will have altars that can do rituals, coven rituals, and then on and on. They'll probably have some personalities that are in there to help with the programming, because they draft everybody that's been programmed to help them with the next generation of people that need to be programmed.
I'm still waiting for the big answer. What are they being programmed to do?
Well, I told you that, Barry. Assassination,
Okay.
serving as sexual slaves.
Right.
Take, for instance, someone like the president. They want to make sure that there aren't scandals on the president, so they have presidential models of people that are under mind control that will do sexual servicing of a president. They're called presidential models. That's what Kathy O'Brien was. But they don't just build one feature in. They'll build in a whole number of features. The person may be on this day they're being used in one way, and on another day they'll be used in another way. They'll move drugs, they'll move money, they'll move messages, they will spy on people. It's the ultimate spy, because if you were to torture one of these people, they have personalities that will take the torture that don't know anything, and so all you'll do is you'll never get to the compartmentalized information that you need, because the way the person's mind has been structured.
Well, just so we can return, just for a sec to this election, it was 2 weeks ago that Yoko Ono described her affair with Hillary Clinton. You're aware of this, right?
I just heard about it for the first time just now.
Really?
But I knew that Hillary was homosexual or gay or whatever, lesbian or whatever label you want to put on it. Yes, I knew that.
Well, this is a little different. It was kind of held back. But this Yoko Ono, who was cheating on John, I suppose. I think he was alive when this affair was taking place. Nonetheless, she said that Hillary will be great for the gay community. And she hinted that she was pretty darn good at what she did. Look this up afterwards. I have no idea what it means, but it's out there now. Widespread.
Well, Yoko Ono came from aristocratic background in Japan, and so we're looking at the same mentality of person that you and I have been exposing.
Now hold on here. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, the people that are into power and the way they think, she turned off a lot of people. I'm not trying to attack her personally. I'm just saying that she wasn't just a common person off of the street. She was rather unusual person.
You know what's... I don't think she's that attractive. I never understood Lenin, who had options, choosing.
Right. So there's got to be something more to the story, isn't there?
Well, you're wondering about the assassination and who the assassin was. He acted pretty darn out of it, if you ask me. Mark?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and you did research into Rabin's assassination, and I don't know, would you say that there were parallels between that assassination in 1998 and what happened to John F. Kennedy?
'98. Who was assassinated in '98?
Rabin?
No, he wasn't.
Oh,
All
what
right.
year was that?
Well, it was 1995, and
95. Okay, thanks for correcting me.
no, I don't think. I don't think so. It was very, very internal, and I know who was behind it, and I proved it. It wasn't guesswork. Um, Kennedy is still way up. It's way more up there. My book on Rabin is way, way more solid than anything that ever came out of Kennedy.
Oh, you don't believe that there was a group that are you still one of the people that backed the Warren Commission, or?
It's again, there was a parallel in Israel called the Shamgar Commission, and the the lying that took place. Yeah, there's a parallel there. There was a lot of lying, and they got away with it. And
What?
Shamgar was also the commission on the Hebron massacre of '94.
Uh-huh.
Uh, there's all kinds of parallels, but I wouldn't say
Well,
it was
that's
the
what I
same.
was getting at. There's some parallels there.
Oh, there's some parallels in deceit, utter perfidy in life. You betcha. From that point of view, they got away with murder,
Yeah, and then
but so obviously, you know,
yeah,
it. All right, all right. Yes, there's a parallel. They lied through their teeth. They covered it up, and the murderers are walking away free to do what the hell they want with their lives.
well, and you know, Robert Kennedy ran for president, and he was somebody that those in power didn't want, and then he ended up getting assassinated. And I feel very strongly that the type of mind control that we're talking about here was involved.
Yes,
And
so
very
do I.
typically, they set up a patsy, and
Sure looks that way.
pardon me.
Sure looks that way.
So that right there is one of the purposes of the mind control is some of these people that have gone in the shooting there in Aurora, the Batman shooting in the he was obviously under this kind of mind control, and but nothing's ever mentioned of it. You see, it's like there has been thousands of documents. Somebody can go. The listeners that are listening to this, you don't have to take my word for it. I mean, the fact that the U.S. government was involved in what was called the MK Ultra program, that is so well established. You can go on and see the documentation, and most of the records were destroyed to try to hide the full scope of this thing, but you can still go on, and there's enough documentation that if you find it there on the internet, you'll see this stuff is going on, has gone on for a long time, and it continues to go on.
Well, it's ruining my people, so that's my concern. If it wasn't, I wouldn't have been involved. But they win. You can't beat them. You cannot beat the murderers, the ones who did the assassinating. You can't beat them. They go on. They become presidents of your country. You can't win. It's very
Well, you
frustrating.
can't prevent injustice, but you can sure protest it.
How? I wrote the best damn books. When I was young, I was a very good investigative reporter, and I really gave everything I had. I protested. Nothing happened. They win. And
Well,
my book went to #1 in Israel.
yeah.
We're not talking about something obscure here, um, but they're protected.
Well, what you're vocalizing is where a lot of people are at, and they don't feel like you can do something about it. But while we're on that subject, let me talk about the Rosenstrasse protest, which happened back in 1943. That there was it was like the final roundup of 10,000 Jews that were being rounded up by the Gestapo and the SS, and it was called Fabrikaktion because they were going into the factories and pulling out these Jews, German Jews, that felt like they were safe because they were contributing to Germany. And they rounded up these 10,000. And what happened is there were it was a spontaneous protest of women.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yes, there was about 1,000 of them that gathered in front of the SS office there at Rosenstrasse 2-4. That was the address. And they were screaming and yelling, "Gebt uns unsere Männer wieder, give us our men back," you know. And all of Berlin was hearing them. And this had happened right after Stalingrad. You probably hopefully the listeners realize Stalingrad was this massive defeat by the Germans. And so this protest, spontaneous protest, was happening right after that. And they caught the Nazi elite totally unprepared. They were shocked. And anyway, this protest, which went on for a couple weeks, and they were blocking the SS from bringing in food to their building and everything. Why, they released 1,800. They even went to Auschwitz, and there was a small number of people that had already been shipped to Auschwitz, and they brought them back and released them. And a number of those people survived the war. So there was an example of the people coming together, taking the moral high ground and protesting. And so these things do happen, Barry. It's not a one-way street for these people that abuse their power.
I could go into, look, of the places Nazis took over, 100,000 Jews survived, 6 million plus were wiped out. I don't want to go into this. You're right, here and there was a tale of hope, but it wasn't all that good a story, I'll tell you. Look, let's go on very shortly. You're going to hear 3 bleeps, and then I'll do Middle East with you. I'll let you plug your books, and I'll plug mine, and we'll do that first after the bleeps are over. And then we are going to talk about the global network of corruption and how it relates to the U.S. and Middle East. I can sort of imagine where this is leading. Give us a one-liner before the commercials start. Where is it leading?
Well, there's population reduction. This is what... It's not a secret. I mean, the United States and a lot of other national governments are committed to population reduction, and the elite are pushing it.
All right. And once again, you make a broad statement that this global network of corruption, look, how does it relate to the Middle East? You're getting people out of the Middle East. They're getting on the nearest boats and sinking in the Mediterranean and trying to escape. But the population reduction isn't the number of people in the Arab countries, it's the number remaining. They're all over Europe now.
I'm talking about globally.
Oh, okay, we're going to be a little stymied here. We take 3 minutes. We'll give ourselves a little bit of commercials. I think we got to start. You're talking population reduction. I don't exactly see that happening. I see population transformation. That's for damn sure. They're on the nearest road out. All right, folks, we'll be back in 3 minutes with Fritz and a good interview. See you in 3.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
Hi, folks. It's Barry Chamish back. I hope you're enjoying the show. It's going to get a little funny this past half hour, and I'll tell you why in a second. But first, buy my books. All of my books, I think there are 9 of them, are at lulu.com. That's www.lulu.com. You'll see a search box right in my last name, Chamish. CHAMISH. That'll do the trick. And David Samron is keeping up my website, www.barrychamish.com. All right, Fritz, go and plug the hell out of yourself. All your books, including Bloodlines of the Illuminati.
Okay, the place to see where they're sold is my blog, pentracks.com. 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 And especially want to point out how they will help the listeners. The Bloodlines of the Illuminati shows how there's this elite that's been ruling the United States. I have a genealogy chart there that I put together that shows how 25 American presidents are closely related. I didn't get any publicity for doing that. About 4 years later, a girl did something similar and became quite famous for it. But anyway, there's a lot of information there and on these bloodlines. And then on the mind control, I have 2 major works that go in depth. One is 500 pages and the next one is 600 pages. And they break down how it's done, what the codes are, who's doing it, the who, what, where, and when of this mind control.
All right, give an address one more time. Oh, and by the way, folks, we are archived for a week at libertyarchives.com. If you missed it, you can pick it up that way. Give it one last chance. How do people get your books?
Pentracks.com, P-E-N, it's, like a pen that you write with, P-E-N, and then Tracks.com, Pentracks.com. Thank you, Barry.
Oh, my pleasure. Now, it turns out you're a controversial guest. Well, I'm not going to go into... you didn't send me enough to work on. You've got plenty to work on. But you did send...
I sent you an email. Did you see it?
I guess I missed it. Last night I did my own article, and it really just sucked me dry, but I didn't. And I didn't open the computer today. No, okay. The answer is no. Let's not get too hung up. But last thing, all right, I'm not sure this network of corruption, I know what the network is in Israel. It's something, it's called labor Zionism. Essentially, broadly based is Bolshevik Zionism. But that's not what the people are. The people are far more widely religious. And you can't tell the good guys from the bad there. But the so-called peace-loving labor Zionists are butchers. All right? And the religious, they don't know nothing. They just get used and utilized there. That's my position. Where does your view fit into that one?
Well, I would agree with you. And that's the sad thing, is that the people that are in power know how to manipulate and use religion. And that's one of their chief ends to do it. I'm a believer in Hashem, but I think that people need to remove themselves from some of these religious structures and start thinking for themselves.
They have to remove themselves from the secular structures and start thinking for themselves. See, you've got the old... All right, I disagree. That's not how the game was being played there. And by the way, Israel is not going to survive this mess.
Probably not. I would agree with you on that. But I want to give some good news here, because I have a man here, James Calhoun here in Portland, and he's the head of a think tank, and he's come up with a desalination project. This is an incredible project. I mean, he broke it down to me how these hydroelectric plants are supply this energy just by gravity, and it's totally ecologically sound. And they've started with Jordan, but they also want to work with Israel. And what it will be is they can take ocean water and they'll refill the Dead Sea, and they'll provide the water that Israel needs. And so I think that this
is not usable. The Dead Sea isn't usable.
Exactly. They're not. That's why I say that they will reestablish the Dead Sea by bringing in this plant. They estimate 11 million gallons of water a day. It looks sort of like a...
Will be turned into salt. You can walk on the Dead Sea. You can float across it.
Right.
Why would you want to put more water there?
I know. That's why. Exactly. And this project is to to refill it in a way that the environment would not be damaged, and where Israel would have the water it needs, Jordan would have the water it needs. One of the major problems in that area is water. That's one reason why the Golan Heights is so important, is because it's the watershed for the Jordan River and the Sea of Galilee up there. And you probably are, I'm not probably telling you anything new. You probably...
The only part I don't get is, why would you want to pour water into essentially a dead puddle? It seems like a waste of the water.
Well, I'm not the one who's paying for this project and doing it. I'm just telling you where the project is going to go. And listening to it, I was really amazed. And there's other new technologies out there.
Give me his name. Let me talk to him. There has to be something I'm missing here. But have you ever been to the Great Salt Lake in Utah?
Yeah, I've been there too.
How would you like to dump millions of gallons of water into that?
I hear what you're saying. You're saying, yeah. What's the purpose of it?
Yeah. All right, I'll speak to them. You know what? After the show is over, give me his phone number, and I'll listen. But on the surface, it's not so obvious to me. And you know what? Give me Kathy O'Brien's name too. I tried to get her on the show, and I still have her book. And give me those two names, and we'll see where it goes.
Well, have you contacted her?
I tried, and it didn't go anywhere, but I gave it my best shot.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they felt like they weren't going to be given a positive.
That's not true. That's not true.
I don't know. I can only speculate why they would not want to come onto your show.
Put us in touch. As for dumping millions of gallons into the thickest, saltiest lake in the world, I'd like to hear what the guy has to say to that as well. And I'm amazed that somebody's paying for this.
Well, they're trying to get irrigation water as the primary. They're trying to get water for agriculture.
It's got to be somewhere else.
Pardon me?
You have to create a new freshwater lake, if anything. You can't get irrigation out of the Dead Sea. Can't be done. Too thick.
No. You're not tracking me, Barry. They're getting the water out of the ocean. They're not getting water out of the Dead Sea. That would be kind of a futile thing. That's what they've been doing over the years. It's drained it. Anyway, water's an important issue in the Middle East. It's going to become increasingly the major issue around the world in many different countries. And so it's good to see that people are coming up with solutions to these kind of difficult situations.
What's the man's name?
James Calhoun.
All right. We'll be in touch with James Calhoun. On the surface, I'm not super enthusiastic, but okay, why not? Let's give him a little bit of a promo. Same with Kathy O'Brien. Let's talk with these people. Who knows? Maybe it'll lead to something. Now, forget what I didn't get from you. I got an article. Boy, you have people who... Boy, oh boy, this is some article. I'm not going to tell you how I got it. It's a secret. But apparently you served 9 years in prison for armed robbery. You want to explain all this?
Sure. It was set up. You can go to there's a... when you have a case in federal law, they will publish it if it sets a precedence. And so the precedence that my court case established was that you could convict someone without evidence. It set a new low standard for evidence. And they didn't accuse me of bank robbery. They accused me of knowing about a bank robbery. They already had the bank robber in custody. He said that I had nothing to do with it, but they wouldn't bring him into court to testify on my behalf. My attorney worked for the other side. He didn't call any of my 20
why
witnesses.
didn't you get rid of him? You don't want one working against you.
Well, when you go into court, that's when things happen. And he didn't. I didn't find out that we weren't going to call my witnesses until it didn't happen. And he just, the last day when I thought he was going to present a case on my behalf, he just rested his case.
You got a long federal prison term. 9 years.
Yeah, I got 5 years, Barry. I got 5 years for 401c3, which was carrying a gun in commission of a crime. And if you read what that law says, Barry, you'll see that the only way that you're to be convicted of that crime is if you are actively using a gun in commission of a crime, and it carries 5 year statutory prison. Well, they gave that to me, even though they didn't even accuse me of carrying a gun. And yeah,
what I
could
have
go on.
is I mean, look, it was sent to me, and you're talking. You served time. And the question, okay.
So I was innocent and I served time.
I'm going to bring up 2 organizations from this report I got.
Yeah. There's some, everything under the sun negative about me has been said, Barry. What's new?
I don't know. This is new to me. What's the Christian Patriot Association?
What is the Christian Patriot Association? They were an organization that also went to federal prison. They were warehousing gold and silver for people, and the government said that they were doing illegal banking by doing that, and they went to prison. I was never associated with the Christian Patriot Association. I was not a member of their organization. So all those people that say that I was part of it are just, they can say whatever they want, Barry. That doesn't make it a fact.
I'm just going to throw this out anyways. What is the Army of God, Yahweh's Warriors? And
that's something that somebody who was a detractor told the press, who then ran with it. There was nothing that connected me to that. And people can spin whatever they want to spin, Barry. I'm sure that you've had some things said about you that weren't true.
Oh, I'll betcha. I'll bet that's true. Nonetheless, before the show, I've known your work, and I've been pretty positive about it, if you must know. But if you must know, the detractors, well, what do they accuse the Army of God, Yahweh's Warriors, of being? An extreme anti-abortion, anti-gay group. All right, just talk about that.
I don't know the organization, Barry, because I wasn't part of it. They want to connect me to people that I wasn't connected to. So, what can I say?
Really? This was a giant frame?
Yeah, it was actually. In fact, the jury was told by the judge to find me guilty. it's a long story, and there wasn't anything I could do to prevent it. People were telling me, "Oh, run, run! They're going to get you."
Run to
Well, I
where?
decided to stay. Huh?
Where could you run to?
Well, I feel sort of like Dietrich Bonhoeffer in that you have to stand where you are and take a stand against these things. That's just the way it is.
I did run from Israel, I admit it, but friends of mine were dying, and I came very, very close to dying. There's a murderama going on there. I did have a way out. I ended up in America, and I think I'm not being chased. I think maybe, but I don't think you had that option. Where could you run to?
Well, that's the point. It's because I have traveled around the world and lived in the different continents, and that's exactly the thing is you're better off staying, at least for me. I can't speak for other people, but for me, I felt I was better off working here in the United States. I'm trying to bring out to people that are in the matrix that they're in a matrix, that they need to wake up. What does that mean?
Wait, don't. This is something I don't want you to gloss over. What does that mean, they're in the matrix? What does that mean? What is the matrix?
Barry, people need to ask themselves who built their frame of reference. From the time you're a little child, your whole worldview and frame of reference is built, but it's being built now to a large degree by these corporations in the state, people, things that the mass media that are controlled, and they are shaping people's views so that they can't see war crimes. I mean, around the world, we've got all kinds of...
what war crime? Hold on. What are we talking about, war crimes? And what's the matrix still? I would say this, your reality is the matrix. What are the war crimes?
Well, just look at what was done in Iraq, and we sent in to Basra B-52s and bombed the heck out, carpet bombed that area. According to, and we did the same thing in North Vietnam too. Henry Kissinger, there was 10 days in 1972 where they just carpet bombed the heck out of North Vietnam. And
that would be Hanky Kissinger. I know the man.
You know Kissinger?
No, I'm just joking. Look, these are names, and we know. Now, again, I'm going to ask you the same thing. Yes, he did. All right, but you should have seen what he did to Israel in 1973. I mean, he killed a real big chunk of my army. Oh, gosh. All right, I see where you're coming from. Now that we know about these crimes, they still get away with them.
Yeah, but, I don't know, everybody to his own. My personality is that if I'm seeing injustice, if I was back there in Nazi Germany, I would speak out against Jews being arrested. I don't care. Other people are going to keep their heads in the sand. There were people that escaped and said, this is what's going on, and nobody wanted to believe them. Well, that's the matrix right there, where people are so caught up in this illusion that's around them that they can't wake up and see what's going on.
I sent out an article yesterday, and you should have it. Have a look at it. I wasn't alone. I worked with people who just saw the obvious manipulation of the Jewish people and stood up. They died young. It's really a thankless role.
Yeah, I went to prison for it. It is a thankless world.
Wait a minute. You went to prison for that. Oh, let's go backwards. Now this is getting interesting.
Hey, Barry, you can believe whatever you want. My attorney told me right at the start, he said that an ex-federal law enforcement person had told him, that they were just out to get me.
It looks like they had a whole lot of people on, in their sights. You got busted for a video store robbery. What?
No. I never got busted for a video store robbery.
What happened?
I don't know. I don't know where you got that information. I was charged with knowing about a bank robbery. Now, by the time it got to the press, it was, this thing escalated from what I was actually charged in the courtroom. But what I was actually charged in the courtroom was aiding and abetting a bank robbery by knowing about it. But then by the time this person and this person, by the time it got exaggerated, they have me robbing this bank. But that's not what I was charged with.
All right. Look, I'm glad you said that. That's first of all. Just remember, I'm coming from my own place, and as far as my own place is concerned, the Christian Patriot Association is anti-Semitic, and you're associated with it. And I said to hell with you all. I know this guy, and it turns out I'm actually in favor of lots of things he's in favor of. And I said to hell with it. But that's what you're being smeared with.
Oh, I know. I've heard it all. And there's a lot of people that if they step out and are against the New World Order, they can be Jewish and against the New World Order, and they'll be called anti-Semite. You can slap any derogatory label. In fact, Barry, this is what I was wanting to talk about today, was how this country is just the same as Nazi Germany. That's what I started to talk about. And one of the things that they did in Nazi Germany...
If I get your email, we'll have you back next week, all right? Away you go.
Well, Barry, I'm in college. It's not like I'm pretty busy. I've already got...
All right, then I won't, but I'll read it seriously and I'll pass it on.
Well, where I'm going with this is what they tried to do is, well, it was very successful. In fact, it was their most powerful tool, is they ostracized anybody, they marginalized them that wasn't politically correct. It happened at the local level. And they do the same thing in this country. Is if you're not politically correct, they'll marginalize you. And they had thugs out in the street. And this whole thing, like this woman, she put a sign for Trump out in front of her yard. And then her house was vandalized. It was spray painted. If she had gone out of her house, she might have gotten seriously hurt or killed by these thugs. This is not what this country is about.
Those bleeps mean it's over, but it turns out you were real informative. I enjoyed the hell out of this. Get a hold of Kathy O'Brien, and you can be sure she gets a real fair hearing. I liked her book. What's the issue here? Have her get in touch with me, please. Oh, thank you, Fritz. Folks, we'll be back in 7 minutes. Stop. Thanks.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the left behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.